Okay, you guys, I am back. We have breaking news in the Celeste Rivas case. Breaking news in the Celeste Rivas case. I know you guys have been waiting for this. We finally have news. D4VD is considered a suspect in the death investigation of Celeste Rivas, a source says. So, singer David is considered a suspect, and now Celeste was only 14 years old when she was put in the trunk, but they are saying 15, but her birthday was after. Uh, we know she was in there for weeks, but okay, so let's go through this. So authorities found her on September the 8th. And that would have been, she would have been 15 the day before, but we don't believe she survived. So let's go through this information together. I'm literally getting this at the same time I'm sharing it with you. So police located her in the front trunk of David's Tesla. This vehicle was registered to 20-year-old David Anthony Burke, known as D4VD, who has more than 33 million listeners on Spotify with songs like Here With Me and Romantic Homicide. So sources with knowledge of the investigation say David is not cooperating with the investigation and has never cooperated with the investigation, despite what his PR reps have claimed. Now, my sourcing on this is ABC News 7. The exact cause of Celeste's COD is not determined. It is still not determined because she was in such bad condition when they found her in the front trunk of David's Tesla on September the 8th. But David is considered a suspect in this. So let's go through the next one together. We're going to be going through multiple sources on this while we suss out this breaking news in the case. So this David being eyed as a suspect in the doing away with, I'm watching my words here, teen who was found in the front trunk of his Tesla. David is being eyed as a suspect in the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Thank goodness, you guys. Thank goodness. Who's was discovered nearly 2 months ago in the front trunk of David's Tesla, according to a new bombshell report. Police are also probing Celeste's passing as a possible homicide. Sources told TMZ. We're going to go to TMZ next. Though the medical examiner has yet to make an official ruling while toxicology results are pending. So they still are waiting for the toxicology. All right, so investigators are looking at David as a suspect in the tragic case of Celeste after she was found in the front trunk on September 8th of this year. She would have been 15, but we know she did not make her 15th birthday. So thank you to everybody who was keeping this going. So let's go to TMZ next. Let me move. Let's go.
Huge story, really, on the website in the David investigation. In the
Can you guys hear? I just want to do a sound check. I don't want to play the whole thing and then find out you can't hear. I'm turning on the subtitles too, but I just want to do a sound check. Could you guys hear that, Natasha? Yeah, it's such great news. All right, let's go through what TMZ says. Here we go. I do have to offer commentary on this.
Investigation into Celeste Rivas's death. I know everyone has been waiting to hear something about this. It has been 2 months since Celeste's decomposing body was found in David's Tesla. And now we know, if you for 1 second thought that the police had forgotten about this and this case was not going to be solved, we now know that the police have been working diligently on this case. And here's what we have found out from our law enforcement sources.
So this is Charles. He's the producer at TMZ. He's been working together on this case very closely with Harvey Levin. And for those of you just joining me, we have breaking news. David has been named as a suspect. Let's go.
David is viewed as a suspect in this case. That may seem obvious, but remember, they have not publicly said anything like that. They have not even said publicly that he is a person of interest. We've spoken to some several well-placed sources in law enforcement, and they say that in the investigation, they are viewing him as a suspect. Another thing is they're viewing this as a homicide. We told you more than a month ago that the key thing here is police were waiting to get the medical examiner report back, and they wanted to find out the manner and cause of death. They wanted that from the medical examiner because the reality is at this point, yes, they know that her body was decomposing, that it was chopped up, but they don't know how she died. And they were waiting for those results.
Okay, so thank God. Thank God. Thank you, God. I know you guys are as happy as I am. I've probably been too emotional about this case, but you can't look at Celeste, who was just a little 13, 14-year-old girl, and not feel uh, love and compassion for what she went through and what she endured. So, two big takeaways. David is being eyed as a suspect. He is a suspect in this case, and this is considered a homicide. Let's continue on together.
They're told they still do not have toxicology results from the medical examiner's office. However, what investigators do know so far is leading them to treat this as a homicide. They're still waiting for the medical examiner report to back that up, but they are viewing David as a suspect and viewing this as a homicide. So there's something else here that's two more things we got to tell you about. And one of them has to do with the fact that there could be other arrests here. David may not be the only person that they end up arresting in this case. So we'll tell.
Whoa. Wow. Okay, so more than one perpetrator. So maybe that's been part of the holdup too. So let's just back this up.
Two more things we got to tell you about. And one of them has to do with the fact that there could be other arrests here. David may not be the only person that they end up arresting in this case. So we'll tell you why in just a moment. Now, here is another very key fact that we have been told, that there was in the spring of 2025, they have information, police do, about David going to Santa Barbara County, a remote area of Santa Barbara County. That's how it was described to us, that he went to this remote area, spent several hours there, and then returned to LA. Don't know anything more at this point. Don't know. Spring of 2025 is a long way from September, early September, when her body was found in the Tesla. So we don't know yet what exactly that direct connection is, if there's a direct connection to the case, but they have this information about him going to that remote area, and they are trying to find out more about that.
So a lot of you guys have been wondering, how long she had been in the trunk. Was she placed in a freezer in a remote area, or was she just buried there, or was she in a freezer? And I hopefully we'll find out more about this. But let's continue on. So for those of you just joining me, breaking news, breaking news. This is not clickbait. You guys know I don't do that, and I am very concerned about Celeste. But breaking news, David is a named suspect. This is being considered a homicide, and he may not be the only person that is going to be arrested for this. And let's continue on. This is Charles, the producer at TMZ.
So what I'd said about other arrests. So again, they don't have the manner of death yet. They don't have the cause of death. What we're told, though, is the manner in which the body was dismembered leads police to believe that whoever did that to Celeste had help. That it
Okay, so that's going to be the other arrest then. Somebody helped him do that.
was not something that whoever the person is who did it could have done by themselves, and likely, we're told, did have help. Now, we are not being told that there are any other people they are viewing as a suspect. We're not told that there are other persons of interest, just that what they've seen with the body and how it was dismembered, it likely they feel was not done by one person. So right now, again, just to recap, David viewed as a suspect by investigators on this case. They view this as a homicide, still waiting for the ME's report to back up the fact that her cause of death is a homicide. And this mysterious Santa Barbara trip in the spring of 2025, I think that is going to be interesting if police can find out more. And then the final question is, who else was involved in dismembering Celeste's body? Don't have an arrest yet, but this is a good sign for people waiting to see if there is going to be justice for Celeste. You know, a lot of times when these cases drag out, people start to think the police aren't doing any work. We saw this with Brian Koberger in Idaho, and then it turned out the police had been diligently covering all their bases here to try and get bring someone to justice. Maybe that is going to happen for Celeste Rivas and her family after all. Of course.
Okay, so that is Charles from TMZ giving us some really great news in the Celeste Rivas case. I don't know about you guys. I feel so emotional. God bless Charles and TMZ, and I'm so grateful that we have this important update in the case. So for those of you just joining us, we got some really great information. First of all, David has been named as a suspect in the case. Second of all, Celeste's case is being treated as a homicide. Third, there is going to be more than one person indicted on this. It looks like they believe that David had help. She was actually dismembered. We weren't sure about that. But we are finding out now that that is the case. I'm very sad about this, but I'm so grateful that we're going to get justice for this precious girl. And we're going to look now at Santa Barbara. And I want to look and see Santa Barbara to where, to LA. I want to see where he might have been. He said a remote area in Santa Barbara. So let's pull that up together. And let's look at this together. Okay, so I know I just got done with another live stream. So I'm just trying to see like what would be here. Okay, so here is LA. So this would have taken him 2 hours and 29 minutes to get there. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. So they said a remote area in Santa Barbara. Let's see what's out there. Just trying to figure this out. What's in and around there, and what are we talking about here? So doing a little map time together. All right, so here's Santa Barbara. Let's see what's in and around here. So they said a remote area. It looks pretty populated. So let's zoom in a little bit more. So we don't know where he went, but they said a remote area in Santa Barbara. Now, I'm not like seeing like a big remote area. So maybe just not a heavily populated area. Or is there a park nearby? I'm just looking to see what's in and around here. Okay, I do see like a little bit of a treat area over here off of Loma Alta Drive. That's like a wooded area. They said a remote area in Santa Barbara. I'm just not seeing. I mean, it looks pretty heavily populated. A lot of people have wondered if Celeste was put into a freezer because we have no proof of life from January 3rd until she was found in the trunk of the car on September the 8th of 2025. So where was she for the rest of January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, and the first we know she was in the trunk the first week of September, but 8 months is a long time where we don't have any sightings of her that we know of. And the only remote area I see is right in here. Um, oh, here we go. There's Ellings Park. And here's another little area here, Hidden Valley Park. So there are some more remote areas. Las Palmas Drive has trees, but I wouldn't necessarily call that remote. But this definitely would fall under that. And this would too. So is this where Celeste was during the time? Did they take her apart? I'm watching my words here. Put her into plastic bags and then put her somewhere. And was why was she then moved to the trunk of the car though? That or is this just a red herring? There's also Honda Valley Park in here too. For those of you that are just joining me, let me go through the breaking news on Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Please say her name. Put in purple hearts. So there, David has been named as a suspect. David has been named as a suspect. This case is a homicide. The LAPD confirmed this to Charles with TMZ, who confirmed it to us. If you're just joining me, back up the chat so you can watch the TMZ. You can back up the chat and then come back to where I am. They think there was someone, they believe that there is going to be more than one indictment on this case because they believe that David had help, that she did not, that he had help taking her apart. I'm watching my words. Don't put the dis word into the chat, and the membered part, don't put that part into the chat, just, but you know that's what I'm talking about. They also said that David made a bizarre trip, which is why we're looking at this map, to Santa Barbara, California, to a remote area. And I found just a couple of areas that I would consider to be remote. One is Elings Park, and the other one is the Hidden Valley Park, which is near Veronica Springs. And I would consider both of those fairly remote. There are some other like treat areas potentially here. I don't know which area that he would have gone to, but and maybe this is just a red herring that he just happened to be. Let me back out again. But let's see how remote these parks are. Let's take a look. See if I can get us. There is also a Mesa Beach. So was she moved? Was she somewhere else and then moved? I also see another area here. Oh, this is a much bigger area. Let's see if I can. I can't, there's no imagery on that. That would be considered pretty remote. There's a golf club, but then look at all this, you guys. There's a lot of remote areas. There's Lake Los Caneros Park, and then there's all of this. Rancho Tello Tico Lot. I'm not sure I'm saying that right. Probably really butchered that. Can you tell me how to pronounce that if you're watching? And that is a huge remote area. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that this is probably going to be considered the remote area. If he went to Santa Barbara, which is what they're saying, then look at what's all around Santa Barbara. We have Gibraltar Rock, Seven Falls, Gould Park, Hot Springs Canyon Trailhead, Eucalyptus Hill. There's a lot of rural areas just outside of the Old Mission, Santa Barbara area. Lots of rural area. that if you wanted to hide someone, you could do it. You could do it. So why did David take that trip? It's a 2-hour and 20-minute drive from Los Angeles. Going over to where this route starts from. Why take this 2-hour and 29-minute drive to Santa Barbara? And I'm sure law enforcement's trying to figure out the whole thing. So the delay has been they do not have a COD. They do not know exactly how. That doesn't mean they can't make their case, but obviously it's harder, but you can still do it. They did it in the Lacey Peterson case. They never have ever told us how she passed, but they were still able to not only convict Scott Peterson, but they convicted him in a capital punishment case, and the capital punishment was implemented. So I think that's a good thing. That's good news for justice. Let me see what else I can find out about this. This is breaking news. See if we have any response from David's camp. They also told us that law enforcement said that he is not cooperating. The only people that ever said he was cooperating was David's own management team. So there you go. So let's go through this one together. So far, I've gone through the New York Post, and my sourcing now is ABC News. David is now considered a suspect in the death investigation of a teenage girl who was discovered in September 8th to be specific, in the front trunk of a Tesla registered to the singer, sources have confirmed to ABC News. No arrests have been made and the investigation is ongoing. So here is your suspect. And we are going to get justice for this precious girl. And thank you to everybody who was like so patient with me while I, couldn't always provide you with brand new information. I did work to keep you updated on this. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner has not determined a COD or manner for how she passed. So that's what they're waiting for. They keep saying she's 15. She was not. She would have turned 15 on September 7th, but we know from law enforcement she was in the trunk for weeks. So she was 14 years old. I just want to make that clear. The teen was from Lake Elsinore in Riverside County. She was reported missing last year by her parents. According to sources, she was found taken apart. I'm not going to use this word right here. And the process of doing this to her is believed to have likely involved more than one person. So TMZ, Charles, the producer, reported out to us that he believes there is going to be more than one arrest in this case. David has tried to move his property, I believe, in an effort to discourage Celeste's family from making a claim in a civil lawsuit. I sincerely hope they get a civil attorney and go ahead and make a claim, because he did this knowing that he was probably going to be indicted, or at least named as a suspect. He hasn't been indicted yet, but that because he did this under nefarious purposes, they still can claim his property. So I would urge them to get a civil attorney and get ready. She may have been dead for several weeks before she was discovered, police said. So we have a little bit more of a tighter timeline, several weeks instead of weeks. Officers responded to an impound lot in Hollywood on September 8th. We already knew that. The Tesla was impounded for 2 days after being found abandoned on a Hollywood street. Specifically, it was found on Bluebird Avenue. The towed vehicle is registered to the suspect in this case, who is innocent until proven guilty, but he is still a named suspect now. 20-year-old David Anthony Burke, also known professionally as D4VD, according to a senior LAPD source. David is allegedly not cooperating with the investigation, sources said. This is what I believe too. I shared with you that I thought sometimes what law enforcement doesn't say is as important as what they did say. David's camp said he was cooperating. And I told you there's been a big PR machine that I am having to overcome with truth that is trying to victim blame and victim shame her family. And I have shared that if she had been found in the trunk of their car, I would be suspicious of them, but she was not, and therefore I am not. ABC News has reached out to his representative and his lawyer for comment several times, but has not received a response. No response from his representative, no response for his lawyer. What do you say now, Josh Marshall, who rented this mansion for David, and who claimed he didn't know about Celeste? Following the identification of Celeste in mid-September, a Los Angeles home where David, that's the mansion, had been living was searched later that night, law enforcement sources told ABC News. David, who first went viral on TikTok, where he has nearly 4 million followers, had been on his Withered world tour when Celeste was found in his Tesla. And David has never uttered one word of compassion or empathy for Celeste, which again was very suspicious. The last few shows of the tour, including in San Francisco and Los Angeles, were canceled. His European tour, canceled. His Australian tour, canceled. Shows on the European leg of the tour have also been canceled. The promotion on the deluxe edition of Romantic Homicide's singer's debut album was set to be released on September 19th, has also been paused, a source close to the situation previously told ABC News. So David is canceled. Let me see what else I can find out for you guys on this. I am going to take your comments, but I just want to do what I always do on these cases, which is I start digging around for other sources of news. So there's going to be, we're going to have other news outlets that reach out, and they're going to be able to gather other information. Sometimes they may have a source inside the case. I'm going to go locally to KTLA, which is out of California. Let's go there next. Because my experience is sometimes local journalists will have an in to local police. I do think TMZ has a good in. They have a good relationship with the LAPD. Okay, so this is what KTLA is reporting. They are saying that there's a new turn with rising R&B singer David now being considered a suspect, reported by TMZ. Despite Burke's ties to both Celeste and the Tesla, he has not been formally identified as a suspect. Well, he has been now. On Tuesdays, TMZ, citing law enforcement sources and also ABC, confirmed this, reported that the LAPD considered him a suspect in Celeste's passing, and said investigators were looking into a specific trip that happened earlier this year in a remote area in Santa Barbara County. When reached for comment on Tuesday, a spokesman for the LAPD said the department could not confirm TMZ's reports, but other news organizations have begun reporting similar details. ABC News did confirm it. Police have previously said that David was cooperating with investigators. That is not true. David's camp put that out. Police never said that. They have had a search warrant that was executed on the mansion in September. We knew that. So he is a rising R&B and hip hop community rising star, amassing millions of fans and followers on social media. Several images appeared of David and Celeste, including video online, indicating the two were at least familiar with each other. Well, more than that. The girl's mother had told investigators that her daughter had a boyfriend named David at the time of her disappearance. David and Celeste had reporting matching tattoos. They keep getting the age wrong here. Come on, guys. Do better. The remains of Celeste, her head and torso, trigger warning here, guys, according to the LAPD police department, were discovered September 8th. So that's what they found. She was discovered after the day after her, what would have been her 15th birthday. The LA County Medical Examiner's Office has said that she most certainly had passed away weeks earlier. So we don't know how many weeks. So while TMZ reports that the LAPD views the case as a homicide, the ME office has designated her COD as deferred. It's one of 625 cases in the country to be designated as deferred. So now let's go back to Santa Barbara. I want to see Santa Barbara County. I typed in Santa Barbara. Let's see what I get. County. Let's try that. Okay. All right. So Santa Barbara County, we're trying to figure out what this remote area is that law enforcement is talking about. And I am just, let me zoom in here. Santa Barbara County. So this would have been a 2-hour and 25-minute, 2-hour to 28-minute, depending on what time of day it is and where he went, obviously. But there are definitely some remote areas. Okay, so we have Eucalyptus Hill, which, let me zoom in, does appear to have housing. But if you go just a little bit north of the zoo, you get into Gould Park, and then a little bit east, we have the Romero Canyon Trail Bench, which is substantial. And then if you go west, we have the Rattlesnake Canyon Trailhead and Schofield Park. So it's, I think it's, he went somewhere in here. They don't know why yet, or at least if they do know why, they have not told us why that is. Let me pull up one more article, and I just want to see, because different sources get different information. Sometimes they have like an inside person that they can check with. And let's see what the Daily Mail has. Okay. I found them to be a credible source during the Brian Kohlberger case. So David is being investigated. Everybody keeps saying she's 15. She wasn't. She was 14. According to TMZ, law enforcement sources have now started to investigate D4VD as a potential suspect in this case. One source claims that the police investigation revealed that around the spring of 2025, David took a trip in the middle of the night. Okay, so this is the first time that we're hearing the time. The middle of the night, no wonder they're suspicious, to a remote area of Santa Barbara County and remained there for several hours. So I'm going to assume it's one of the areas that we just looked at. So why was he there? It is very suspicious. The reporter noted that the matter was being tentatively treated as a possible homicide. There is still no official paperwork identifying D4VD as a suspect, and authorities are still waiting on an official COD from the ME, the medical examiner. An LAPD insider later told NBC4, we're going to go there next, that police believe that Celeste likely passed, oh, here we go, new information, in the spring. So that's why that Santa Barbara trip is so significant. Okay, so in the spring, remember the Doheny house? And I shared with you that the Doheny property, we'll go to that. I'm going to go to this other news article, but then we're going to go to the Doheny property and look at that, because that was put back on the market on March the 7th. So Celeste likely passed in the spring, and that David likely had help in and I'm not going to say this word, and disposing of her. The source claimed that the rapper has not been cooperative during the months-long investigation. So much for that narrative. All right. The LAPD said several items of evidence were found during the raid, but there have been no specific updates as to what they got. We know that PI Steve Fischer previously told the Daily Mail he had recovered strange items inside the house that served no domestic purpose. There were multiple of these items that could all be used together. Okay, that's interesting. Multiple of these items that could all be used together. You'd never need in a Hollywood Hills home. You'd most likely find them on a farm. All right, let's go to this other news article, and then we're going to go to the Doheny property. Okay, so now we're finding out that it was the spring. So let's go to the NBC4 that they're citing as their source. Make sure we're all looking at the same thing. Yeah, we are. Okay. Thank you for your patience while we go through all this, but I want to glean every little detail that we can get today. Okay, singer D4VD has been identified as a suspect in connection with the death of, they do not have her age right. She was 14 when she was put in the trunk, because now we're hearing that it was the spring of 2025 that they believed she was done away with. The Lake Elsinore girl, that's Celeste, was found September 8th in the front trunk. The car was impounded, and we know somebody from the impound lot called police when they got an odor from it. Police tell NBC4 investigates that she likely passed away in the spring, and that D4VD likely had help in taking her apart and disposing of her. So TMZ is reporting that it's going to be more arrested than just D4VD. Allegedly, he is innocent until proven guilty, but he has been named as a suspect. So not as innocent as he was an hour ago. The source said that the 20-year-old has not been cooperative in the investigation. Police told NBC4 investigates that Celeste's passing likely occurred in the spring and that David likely had help. So in the spring, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else new. All right, Celeste's brother told NBC LA earlier this year that family members who still live in Lake Elsinore were aware that the girl knew David, D4VD. Matthew Rivas said that when his sister disappeared, she was on her way to see a movie with him, but never returned. David, whose legal name is David Burke, is a singer-songwriter with 3.6 million followers on TikTok. The success led to him signing with Dark Room and Interscope Records. We know that his manager is from Interscope. That's Josh Marshall. Born in Queens, New York, David moved to Texas in his early teens and gained a following on YouTube, playing Fortnite and other online games. So in knowing this, I want to go back to what we talked about today. Let me grab this video file that I shared today. I want to go back to the Doheny house. Now that we know that she disappeared in the spring, that makes this more significant. It makes everything I shared on this more significant. This is the Doheny property where we have proof that Celeste was there. And this is the kitchen. And you can see here, I showed this earlier today, but I just want to go through this for some people that may not be familiar with the case, or as familiar as some of you guys. You can see the beadboard cabinetry. You can see the door handles. You can see the gas stove. You can see that is stainless steel. You can see that there are white rolled shades, and you can see the blue tile. And when we look at the next picture, look behind David and Celeste's head. Okay, look behind their head here. You could see the white beadboard cabinet with the same exact door pulls. You could see the white shades. If you look behind David's hair, you can see the blue tile. Let me move myself over here for a second. You can also see the gas stove. If you look between Celeste and David, you can see the blue tile. And the other proof we had that they were at Doheny is this bathroom photo of the Doheny property when it was put back up for rent. We're going to go through that next, because that lines up with law enforcement telling us that Celeste, they believe she passed in the spring. If you look, there's 1, 2, 3 photographs in this picture that was put on social media, not social media, this was put on a real estate site to rent the property. We're going to go through the dates that it went back up for rent. You can see the hangers hanging off of it. But here in this picture, you can clearly see David and Celeste sitting and taking a picture in front of the exact same picture. Look, there's 1, 2, 3 of those photographs of the ocean. And if I go back, you can see again 1, 2, 3 pictures, photograph of the ocean. They are in that bathroom on Doheny. So that is proof that they were at the Doheny house. And many people believe that Celeste may have been stashed in the Doheny property. But we do have neighbors that say that they saw David and Celeste together at the mansion too. So let's look at now, let's go back. Now that we know that Celeste, that law enforcement believes that Celeste was done away with in the spring of 2025. Let's go look at now when this Doheny property went back up for rent, because I think that becomes even more significant. So you can see here that it was taken off the market in July 26th of 2022. So was David living here prior to moving into the mansion? We know he moved into the mansion, I believe, Valentine's Day of 2024. So did he keep the Doheny property? Was he the one renting it? Because look at the date that it's relisted for rent again. It's relisted in the spring, March 7th to be exact, of 2025. The last proof of life that we know about for Celeste is from PI investigator Steve Fischer, private investigator Steve Fischer, has January 2nd of 2025 as the last photograph or image that he has of Celeste alive. And I thought that was significant because this property was put back up for rent the first week of March. So if somebody was clearing out or cleaning out or moving out, then might take a couple weeks to do that, and then the property would be cleaned up and then relisted. So maybe he let the property go. But if did he retain that when he moved into the mansion? And was Celeste there for part of the time? And then we have this. We have David with his custom Itami. Anytime you see David with a blindfold on, that's supposed to be his murderous alter ego, Itami, who solves crimes, or he solves crimes that he commits. And David thought this would be a really good thing to sell to kids, bloody shirts, which in light of what we know now, that he is a suspect in the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case, this is what David thought was going to be a good thing to do. I mean, so many things were pointing in David's direction, from the fact that she was found in the Tesla. This divine celestial shirt, whether he had it made or if he bought it online. I had somebody say they found it online, but I never did get the link. I did ask for some kind of proof, because David has a massive PR machine going on, in my opinion. Michael's giving us some updates. He says, he's from the area. He says, and this is one of our head mods, he said that Los Padres National Forest spans large parts of Central California, including Santa Barbara. Thank you for that important detail. And this is our other head mod. And Jess, thank you so much for modding. I'm going to do a shout out to the mods. So this divine celestial Hello Kitty shirt, remember he referred Celeste in her missing poster. They talked about her having Hello Kitty Crocs on, shoes on. And he talks about in one of his songs, his Hello Kitty girl. He also did a post about it. And then he's wearing the celestial, which means heavenly, divine celestial shirt. Hello Kitty, with basically her name on it. We know there's going to be a co-conspirator. I'm not saying it's Neo. I don't know, but there's his personal assistant Neo. There's David singing in that shirt, divine celestial. This all takes on. We were suspicious, but this takes on even new meaning. That's just a close-up proving that it does say divine celestial. You can pause it if you want to look at it. This is also takes on new meaning. This was posted. Let me take the banner down. This was posted on her birthday, September 7th. And I talked about this earlier today. Chased by a crow looking at the trees, and the pro David accounts came in and told me that it wasn't significant because it was just a song. I think it was significant. I think David, and the fact that he's wearing a Hello Kitty shirt, um, and he posted this on September 7th, which just happens to be Celeste's birthday. I think it is significant, in my opinion. I think it's going to be another piece of circumstantial evidence in this case. This is all evidence now, in my opinion. This is the other picture that he took. I chased a crow looking at trees. Yes, okay, it's a song, but he's still talking about a crow, which, for a lot of cultures does represent renewed life or end of life, life ending and life beginning. That's the significance of it. And it's posted on her birthday, September 7th. And he's wearing the Hello Kitty shirt. I just don't think this is a coincidence, my friends. I just don't. So what was considered information now, I believe, is going to be considered evidence. Was Celeste here? This is at Coachella. That's Neo. And if you look in the reflection of the fireplace, it does appear that David is wearing his bonnet. I don't know if this is Celeste or if this is just David reflected back twice. But you guys can decide that for yourselves. I'm sure law enforcement can enhance the photo even more than I can to determine it. And this is David. Remember, SF Investigate said that the driver of the Tesla was wearing a shirt that was very easy to distinguish. And so I thought that was one. Neo's in this one. Don't know who was driving the Tesla, but that's pretty distinguished looking shirt. I mean, that would be able to pick that out as being something that I would jump out at me. Remember, whoever moved the Tesla, and we were told then we know that David went on tour that same day. So they moved the Tesla, and then David hopped on a bus. So that was on July 29th. The Tesla was moved into its final position on Bluebird Avenue, July 29th. Celeste was not discovered inside the Tesla until after it was impounded on September the 8th. But July the 9th, it was moved into position. We don't know who moved it. Steve Fischer knows. And he said they moved it. I've heard rumors. I cannot confirm this, so speculation alert. I have heard rumors that there was an SUV following David. They could have just been Steve's way of trying to hide whether it was a male or female. But if you look here, you can see people were telling me that he did not have a tour. His tour did not officially start, but he probably had what's called a tech show where they're working on the tech and the sound. And so he did have a show July 30th. D4VD tour starts today. Baby, I'm getting on stage, and it's July 30th. So there's the proof on that. He posted that himself. Again, this is all now evidence in this case. And there is the named suspect, D4VD, and there is the victim, Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Say her name. Say her name. I'm going to look to see if we have any other news, because you guys that know me know I glean everywhere. I look everywhere to try to find any information. I look for local sources in particular. Okay, so this is ABC out of New York. Let's go here. Sometimes different sources can get different information. So let me pull this up. Okay. All right. So this was filed just a few minutes ago. D4VD is considered a suspect in the investigation into what happened to Celeste. I'm watching my words. If they source with knowledge of investigation told ABC News on Tuesday, no arrests have been made and the investigation is ongoing. Celeste was reported missing from her Lake Elsinore home in early 2024. Specifically, my understanding is that she disappeared on Valentine's Day, which is the day I believe David moved into the mansion. She ran away a few times and returned a few times before her final runaway in April of 2024. She called home. This is new. She called home at the end of May in 2024 and had not been heard from since. Authorities discovered her body on September 8th. We already know that. We know that. All right, so that's all the information that I have on that. So now let's go back to this bizarre trip that David took from LA in the middle of the night to Santa Barbara County. So that would have been a 2-hour and 25-minute drive by car in the middle of the night. And you can see here from LA along this route. And then he reportedly stayed there for several hours. So there is the Los Padres National Forest. So what was he doing in Santa Barbara? And how is this related to Celeste's disappearance? But there sure is a lot of area, the Cold Spring Canyon, Arch Bridge. There sure is a lot of remote area. He went to a report. There's Toro Canyon Park, but that's a little bit. If you just are staying right in and around the county, it's going to be somewhere in here. That's what I'm thinking. Tell me if you have a different feeling or if you have a different sense of it. Let me pull up some of your comments. So I'm sorry, not on camera. I was getting ready, and then I got breaking news in the Brian Kohlberger case, and then I went ahead and did the David live stream, the D4VD that I was going to do, not knowing that we're going to have breaking news, and I was just getting ready for bed, and then so the LAPD, news reports are saying that they think she was done away with in the spring. So Texas says, so come on up if you're watching, come on up and share your questions. Texas 686 says, do you think family was advised not to talk about this case until David? Yes, I think so. I think so. I think that they were probably asked not to say anything. They probably didn't feel the need to come out and pressure law enforcement. I suspect that law enforcement was probably keeping them updated. Yeah, where's Neo? Where's David? Makes the time unalived a need to know. Yep. Well, now we have a closer time. We know that it was spring. We suspected that it was because of the Doheny property coming back on the market in March, the first week of March. So I did show the map a couple times. Feel free to back it up. I see your comment came in probably after I went back to it again. And maybe that's why his car had a dent. Yeah, could be. Jasmine said, think about how many people who don't know his music will be listening now, just out of curiosity. True. And hopefully all the money goes to Celeste's family. Antonia said, that's why I want to be with a channel where I'm hearing absolute truth and correct information that's out there. Thank you so much, Antonia. That means a lot. Flojo said, how was the temp on this case? It's hot. Surely his arrest is imminent, if not already happened. Sounds like they are waiting for they officially named him as a suspect, and they said that there may be more than one arrest. Pretty hot, Injaz says, yeah. Supa Loop says, exact same house. She said, do you like fluffing kids? Yeah, that was where that live stream took place, where she talked about the R. Yeah. Exactly. Since this happened, his music and views have become extra popular. I think he is done, though. I do think he's done. I think David is not even in the United States. I don't know where he is. Hopefully the LAPD do. Keep it 1K Daily says, and thank you. Keep it 1K Daily is the one that says, you need to get back on the air in my comment section. Because there's breaking news, and I quickly emailed and Jazz and hopped back on the air and just hoped she saw it. He gave up the Doheny property because he didn't need it to hide her anymore. That's what I believe as well. I'm sure they pulled his passport. Yeah. Michael says Los Padres National Forest spans large parts of Central California. Moody thinks Orion. Texas says, do you think the family was advised? Yes, I do think they were probably advised not to speak. I agree with your assessment on that, Tex. Cat Seer says, I think it was before the spring. Antonia said, that's why I said before his goose is cooked, they're definitely going to get some type of justice. I really pray they do soon. Michael says, I believe the family will file a lawsuit. They should. My advice to them would be start crowdfunding for a attorney and get yourself a civil lawyer. And just says, please consider joining the Reporter Room Facebook group. We talk about all of the crimes. I do want to say thank you to Njaz for gifting a Reporter Room membership. That is so nice of you, Njaz. Thank you so much. And thank you to Njaz for gifting another Reporter Room membership. That is so nice of you. If you got that, please make sure you say thank you to Njaz. Thank you. So for those of you just joining me, David has been named as a suspect, and LAPD wants you to know that they are on this case. We were getting worried, weren't we? And Tony said, I don't think this is his first time. I think he thinks he's so clever. I don't know. He's pretty young. It is an American Horror Story. Flojo says, if law enforcement can pull their passports till they are considered a suspect, but I'm no police. Let me see what I can find out about that. Can they pull us the passport? Let me find out. All right. Let's ask. Okay, what the LAPD can and cannot do. No, the LAPD cannot directly pull or seize a suspect's passport based solely on a request for a passport. It's a federal document, so there is no general stop and identify law in California that requires you to provide identification. But that's not what I'm asking. Let me be more clear to Google. Okay, they cannot confiscate a passport on its own. Passport control is a federal matter, not a state or local one. So they can't do it by themselves. They can, however, arrest a suspect, hold them in jail without bail for murder. To seize a passport, the LAPD would need to coordinate with federal law enforcement, so they could do it if they coordinate with the FBI or U.S. Marshals. Now, the FBI or U.S. Marshals can seek a warrant. They have to get a warrant from a judge to seize the passport. So why would passports be seized? They are often seized in murder cases to prevent the suspect from fleeing the county and to aid in the investigation and prosecution. Police must obtain a warrant to seize the passport. This is a court order that allows them to seize property for evidence. Federal authority. The U.S. State Department can also revoke or suspend a passport for certain crimes, but it had like a felony conviction or if a person is deemed a danger to national security. I don't know if that applies here, and he hasn't been convicted of a felony, but it sounds like the FBI or U.S. Marshals could absolutely do it. It's important to note that while the LAPD cannot directly pull a passport, they do have a wide range of powers when it comes to these type of investigations. So they can work with the feds to get that. So that was a great question. And so thank you for asking that. Flojo, thank you. We have 297 people watching, only 84 likes. And Jazz is asking if you could please give this a thumbs up. It lets YouTube, the algorithm, know I'm doing a good job covering this. And Flojo, could you imagine if he left the country? They gave him ample time. Well, they're trying to make their case. Remy said they say he had a thing for SKs. Kobayashi said, I feel bad for his parents and siblings. Flojo said, I mean, people were speculating he was in Australia. Yeah, we don't know. Ms. Milwaukee TV says, I bet he did it before in 2011. Something happened that year. You're talking about when he was left school? I don't know. I don't know. Allie Ray said, I'm glad they finally announced him as a suspect. I've been saying he's guilty from the start. What a gross excuse for a human being. Hey, Allie. Hey, Allie. Thank you for modding today. And Jess probably thought she was going to go to bed. Moody agrees. I'm going through to see. Tech said, so he's been arrested if he's a suspect. No, he has not been arrested yet. He has been named as a suspect. He has been named. Dandy Lioness says, Neo, come out and play. Eh? Please, yeah, just please be careful though, because he hasn't been named at all. So I don't want to impugn Neo just because he was working with, David was his boss. But I am suspicious about this. If you knew that there was a missing girl, why would you scrub your social media? Cassie and Neo did do that in coordination, I believe, with David, allegedly, in my opinion. Catsier says, I have that kind of fireplace. It's probably the same person. I do want to say thank you to Flo Joe TV for the $4.99 super sticker. Thank you so much, Flo Joe. Flo Joe says, sent you a few articles to your email. May find some good stuff. Thank you for that, Flo Joe. I absolutely will be going through that. Thank you. And we're doing Purple Hearts for Celeste. Touch of Class said they had it from early in the day. Ms. Walkie said he said it playing Fortnite game that something happened and then it changed his life. Very interesting. Just crazy. Just leave that car in the street without plates. Yeah. It was I don't know if it was out of state plates. I think it was expired plates. Remy thinks he's arrogant. Touch of Class agrees. Really stupid. I agree, Mike. You're right. Superloop says, pull up that route, please. All right, let me pull the route up. Let me take this down. Let me take a couple more comments and then I'll pull the route up next. When SF speaks, he uses they and he. Thank you, Antonia. Kobayashi said, Neo was posting on Instagram story lately, just making fun of people blaming him. Yeah, and maybe he's innocent. Maybe he scrubbed his social media because David was his boss and told him to. We don't know. There were people living in that mansion with David, so we don't know who the LAPD is eyeballing. The only person that's been named. So I just want to urge caution here. Let's not go after Neo, or anybody. Don't go after David either. Let law enforcement do their job. Thank you for the Purple Hearts. How old was David in 2011? That would have been 14 years ago. He's 20 now. He would have just been a little kid. Beautiful Celeste, and Jazz says, beautiful, pure Celeste. Neo can talk to law enforcement now. Yeah, hopefully he already has done that. Katsier said, accomplices need to step forward. Yeah, we know how this goes. Whoever talks first gets the best deal. All right, let's go back to the map. Janine says SF will probably speak out. Let's see if he is. Let's see if he has anything he's sharing that's new. Let's take a look. This is why I love interacting with you guys, because you guys, one, your comments are excellent. Two, I always get good ideas from reading your comments. All right, he has not posted. Let me just share this. Take this down. Add this back up. Okay. He has not posted anything in 21 hours. But he said, the comment I made in response to the hypothetical question, which I answered, was yes, the FBI is definitely involved in the case, assuming the hypothetical scenario that the case involved crossing state lines with the minor. I have not seen any evidence of crossing state lines. I just want to clear that up. Okay, so that's the last post that he made. So nothing new there. Let's go through and see. So nothing new from SF Investigates. Last post was 21 hours ago. So right there. Okay. So one of you guys wanted me to go back to the map. All right. So what did you want me to look up on the map specifically? Let me scroll down. Tell me what you want to see on the map and I will do it. You guys wanted to see something on the map? I'm happy to look it up. What did you want to see on the map? Marbear says, was it true David grew up with a father who was a litigation support man? Yes. Well, I don't know what his title was, but he worked with major law firms. Wonder what one could learn about the ins. Oh, no, he worked for a law firm. He just wasn't a lawyer, but yeah. No press conference from David. He's just been silent. So let me see what you guys want me to look up on the map. 2011, it could have been a pet or an animal, something like that. Yeah. Or it could have been something that's not related to this, just something benign that would seem benign in comparison to this. Let me just say. Sorry. Please, yeah, don't use the dis word though. Don't do that. Don't use that word, please, please, please. I'm going to take it down. Don't use that in the chat. See what Michael did here? Do that. Okay. Please don't put the dis word in the chat. I got to take it down. Please don't put the D and the comp word in the chat. Please put a slash through it, find a different way to say it. Please, please, please. I want to stay in good standing. I respect this platform. They said more arrests. Yeah, more than one person because they believe that David had help. No, don't worry. You didn't know. Don't worry. Renegade said looking for secondary highways on the outskirts of Santa Barbara County. Okay, so let's do that. Secondary highways on the outskirts of Santa Barbara County. Let me zoom in. That's a good idea. Let's see. Okay. I mean, in my opinion, he would have needed to get up here if it's rural, right? This is like Romero Canyon, Brad's Bench, Buena Vista Trailhead, somewhere in here. Hot Springs. So where would you go? This is the most direct route. But it would have been pretty easy to also hop on 192 and make your way to Parma Park, which has a couple of rural areas. It has the Franceschi Park. It has the El Ciolito Trailhead. It has the Parma Park, and it also has the Alos in Wonderland private botanical garden. And the only clue we have is that it's a rural area. Excuse me. So 192 seems like it would be pretty easy to hop on. So if you were going, let's just say you were coming, I'm showing you the most direct route, but this does run parallel. Yeah, so it would have been very easy to cross over here onto 192 to get yourself into a more rural area. And they said Santa Barbara County. So that's going to be up here. There's the Parma Park. The Aloes in Wonderland. Let's see how rural this is. Okay, so this is the park. But would that be open in the middle of the night? Remember, he went in the middle of the night. And stayed for a couple of hours and then drove back. That is a weird drive. So that tells me a couple of things. One, it tells me that they got the data from the Tesla, right? They have the data from the Tesla. They have it because they know where he went. They know he went to Santa Barbara County one night in the middle of the night. So that tells me they have the data from the Tesla, at least some of it. Ali Ray says, I think the trial is to be public. All parties have to agree on it. Mainly the judge will make the final decision. Oh, we will definitely be airing that trial. Thank you, Supaloop. I just wasn't sure what you wanted, but I hope I answered the question to the best that I can with what little information we have. Sante Tones. Janine says, that's what I thought, Jessica, about the spring. So we know now that the fact that they know he went somewhere in the middle of the night, either someone told them, but more likely the fact that they know he went to Santa Barbara County specifically in the middle of the night and how long he stayed and then drove back tells me they have the data from the Tesla, in my opinion. Allegedly, speculation alert on that one. Keeping it 1K Daily says, do you think the police got his location? Yeah, I just said, you great minds think alike. I don't know. But yeah, we're definitely on the same page. Redigan says, California Highway 166 runs through Santa Barbara County. Let's take a look. Santa Barbara 166. I see 192 running right through there. I don't know about 166. I don't know the area well enough, but I will, before we do our next live, I will familiarize myself with this area and we will do a serious map time. Michael, our head mod along with NJAS, is asking, please give this a thumbs up. It does help me out with the algorithm. Abigail says she and her son think they are above the law. It's obvious now they're caught like mother, like son. She taught him and he knows she allowed it. Hey, Gloria. Betkin said, if there were any pictures of Celeste out of state immediately, the FBI would be called in. Yeah. And we do have, with the article I shared with you during the earlier live stream today, that that she may have been out of state, but I can't confirm it. So Lala Lote Man Page says, in Goleta up the San Ynez Mountain. That's a good location. Eileen says the jury decides, judge does the sentencing. Please put your DNA on this is our other head mod. Thank you for modding today. I was just going to ask about the Tesla data. Yeah, I'm thinking that they do have it. This is a speculation alert on that. I don't have confirmation, but let me see if I can find anything on that. Let me see. But I'm thinking that they have it because how else would they know, right? Let me see. Let's see if anybody else has any other news. Looking for credible sourcing on this for you guys. Let's try LA. This is a local paper or local news. Let me take this down and put this up. Sometimes local, you can find interesting things digging through local. Okay, so this says TMZ sources, there are no paperwork classifying David as a suspect, but one of their sources told TMZ investigators are looking at David as a suspect. TMZ has an ABC or NBC News confirmed it too. TMZ also said that on Monday, LAPD told them they are not close to making an arrest. That may just be of them just protecting the integrity of their investigation. It sounds like they're closer today than they were yesterday. The fact that they're willing to say his name. That's the backstory. The connection between David and Celeste. Rivas was 13 years old when she was reported missing on April 5th of 2024 in Lake Elsinore. Celeste had been reported missing at least 3 times in 2024, according to the LA Times. Her mother reportedly claims that before Celeste went missing in April of 2024, she was dating someone with David, but she had never met him. Friends of David told TMZ that the two were romantically involved, but that they believed she was a 19-year-old student at USC. And this is where all the charges I talked about in the live stream I did earlier today, all of the felonies, if they thought she was 19 and he was passing her off as a 19-year-old and serving her alcohol, that ups those felonies from being wobblers to being either a misdemeanor or felony or an absolute felony. And each one of those counts carries up to 4 years per count. Law enforcement sources previously confirmed to TMZ that Celeste had multiple fake IDs, which could have given her access to such events. Now we know Celeste didn't procure those herself. Somebody got those for her. In early October, law enforcement does have a lot. In early October, David hired criminal defense attorney Blair Burke so he knew this was coming. This is according to LA Magazine. Blair Burke has limited experience with murder cases. She has handled them before. Her past clients, primarily in the entertainment industry, include Harvey Weinstein, Mel Gibson, Lindsay Lohan, Kanye West, Britney Spears, Reese Witherspoon, and don't forget the Prince, formerly known as Prince Andrew, who is now just Andrew. Doesn't have the Prince title anymore. More recently, she represented Monica Cementelli, who in June was sentenced to life in prison for the 2017 murder of her husband, celebrity hairstylist Fabio Cementelli. All right, so here's the timeline. Celeste was reported missing by her family. May of 2024, she is reported missing again. August 27th of 2025, the position of the tires on a Tesla registered to David Anthony Burke is marked by authorities. September 3rd, a parking citation is issued. This is 2025. September 5th, the Tesla is impounded. September 8th, Celeste remains are found in the front trunk of the Tesla one day after what should have been her 15th birthday, but we know she was in the trunk for weeks. We also know that police believe she was done away with in the spring of 2025. September 17th, detectives with the LAPD Robbery Homicide Division served a search warrant on the mansion located not far from where the Tesla was parked. Several bags of evidence was seized. December 19th, 2025, David cancels his Withered tour. Notice in here there's not one comment from David of remorse or are you okay or anything kind. September 2024, Celeste is released back to her family. The same day, movers are seen taking boxes and other items from the home in the moving truck. Homeowners confirmed with TMZ that David's manager, Josh Marshall, informed him they'd be breaking the lease and moving out by the end of the week. So that is what we know so far. So let me take a couple more comments. If you're watching, come on up and talk to me. Judy said, that's a problem where he tried to yeah, exactly. And that's where police think he had help, that it wasn't just him acting alone. Gentleman Life says, I ponder if there are surveillance cameras either at the location he went to or the area. Yeah, or on the Tesla itself too. Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends what he drove up there. We don't know. But maybe that's when he got that dent. Janine said, I'm sure David is an unwell or unstable person to begin with. I don't know. Ms. Milwaukee said, I thought the legal age is 21, not 19 for alcohol. You are correct. So if she had IDs, that's true. That's a good point. If she had IDs, let me rephrase that. If she had IDs, you're right, Ms. Milwaukee. I'm wrong. If she had IDs that got her into any establishments that served alcohol because she was over 18, according to the ID, obviously she didn't procure those on her own. If she was served alcohol or anyone got her alcohol or anyone saw her drinking alcohol, then that would up the felony charges. Thank you for that. And Tony said, I'm sad, just sad. Truly believe they gave her something. It is sad. But at least we have some hope. Gentleman says there have to be cameras in the park. If it was the park, I would think that he would be trying to find some place, you know. Wannabe Sleuthin something says he didn't pass the sniff test from the moment I found out he canoodles children and has a song called Romantic. Yeah, exactly. Please. Oh, yeah, I have a Reddit group if you want to join us there. Dido Apple says David and his lawyer Burke, right? Coincidence. Yeah. I thought that was weird too. I think that's what he was like hoping that was all he would be charged with. She is a criminal defense attorney. Check the park cameras. Heck yeah. He's going to need a fancy lawyer, Michael says. And if you have any information about any other sightings of David and Celeste together, I mean, of course, go to the LAPD if it's something about, helping solve the case. But if it's something you want me to cover, let me know. I will. You can email me there. Remy said she was just a little girl trying to be a grown up. So sad. Yeah, I believe she was enticed and lured away from her family by this man. Allegedly, in my opinion. Abigail said, stop the 4 in his name. He isn't creative or mysterious. Superloop said, I got to call it. And just, I figured trying to be send bread, but my fingerprint isn't the same as 9 months ago. I don't think Celeste. Yeah, I don't think, we don't know yet because they don't have it back. They don't have it back. We don't have the toxicology back. We're waiting for that. We just need that to come back on. Let me take the banner down. I do want to do a huge shout out to Njaz, who is our executive producer. Thank you so much, Njaz, and our head mod tonight along with Michael L. Cole. Thank you to our producers, Sasha Angel, George Brown, Michael L. Cole, Christy Ballantyne, and Randall Ran. And thank you to all of our channel members for your support and your help. If you would like to have your name appear just like this, hit the join button. It's next to the subscribe button. But subscribing is free, and that helps me out a lot too. Joining just costs a couple of dollars. It's $2. I think it's $2.99. And we have members only videos, members only live streams. So, and you have a check mark in your name in the top chat. And you also have your name appear just like this during all of my live streams. So breaking news, if you're just joining us, David has been named as a suspect in the doing away with Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Law enforcement believe he had help. They believe they're going to be arresting more than one person, according to Charles from TMZ. I do want to do super thanks and coffee gratitude to Njaz, Michael L. Cole, and My Insane World for the live stream we did the other day. And thank you to Njaz and Njaz. Thank you so much for the gifted channel memberships. So let's go through the breaking news of what we know so far. So far, we know that David has been named as a suspect by the LAPD. This has been confirmed by multiple news outlets. They believe that somebody helped David taking Celeste apart. I'm watching my words here because we know that it was her head and torso that were found in the trunk. We know that David took a bizarre trip in the middle of the night to Santa Barbara County. It took him almost 2.5 hours to drive there. He reportedly spent around 2.5 hours there and then drove back. Law enforcement has also stated through multiple news outlets that they believe that Celeste was done away with in the spring of 2025, which lines up with the Doheny property coming back on the market in March of 2024. Was this where David was living prior to moving into the mansion? And did he just continue to rent it out and make live streams and keep Celeste there in a way, or was she at the mansion? We do have reports from a neighbor who said that he saw Celeste at the mansion multiple times and believed that David and Celeste were boyfriend and girlfriend. Let me know what you think about all of this. And thank you so much for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me. If you haven't subscribed, please do it. Lets the YouTube algorithm know that I'm doing a credible job. Like, share, leave a comment, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for joining me. Bye.